Peace, 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 and welcome to another episode of the Grown Man Shift Podcast. I'm your host, Baith Nordine, and I don't have a guest today. Today is it's a journey. It's a journey through grief. We're approaching the holiday season, and I know just in my own personal experience what I'm going through right now in terms of dealing with loss, dealing with loved ones that have transitioned. And I feel like maybe talking about it may be the best way to confront it, to deal with it, to process it, to put it somewhere, to take it from somewhere. But yeah, today's episode is grief. First and foremost, to anybody who has lost somebody. Mother, brother, sister, cousin, friend, grandparent, whatever the relationship was, my heart genuinely goes out to you, to your family, to your loved ones, to everybody who was connected to that person or to those people. My heart really goes out to you. The holidays come around and they don't hit like they used to hit before these people have transitioned. Thanksgiving's coming up, Christmas is coming up, New Year's coming up. Those are typically celebratory holidays. Those are the holidays that when you mark your calendar, Thanksgiving is to be thankful for what you have and the blessings that's bestowed upon you. And with somebody that just transitioned, I don't really feel like the love is, you know what I'm saying? I don't really feel like being thankful, because how can I? The person that I would normally kick it with during this time, I can't kick it with. I can't pick up the phone and call them. I can't pop over the house and go see him. There's a lot of things that just never will happen again because this person is no longer in my life. For me, I'm no stranger to loss, and not saying like, well, I got this shit down packed. Nah. Grief is not this rudimentary thing that, there's a time limit, there's a certain vibrato and gravity to it, and there's a certain level of how you supposed to move through it, and there's none of that. Grief is grief. Grief is no different than love, or no different than anger, or no different than any other emotion. Grief it's heavy. It's not light like love. It's not light like happiness. It's heavy. It's heavy. It's low. It's grief. And I'm opening up this space to whoever need to say whatever they need to say, to express whatever it is they need to express. Because in my grief, I've been finding healing in expressing. Whether it's crying, whether it's writing, whether it's, in my case, my phone, I have a lot of voicemails. Occasionally I jump on the phone and I listen to some voicemails, because just to hear their voice again is comforting. Feel me? But however way processing fits you, Just saying for me, I be needing to talk. And maybe you need to talk. And maybe we need to talk together. And maybe we need to talk to other people. And maybe that might be healing for you like it is for me. Maybe. I don't know. I know this time of year. And for me, Thanksgiving isn't really the hoopla. It's not. Not in my family. Like, so it may or may not be heavy for me in this season of my grief, because Thanksgiving really wasn't, I mean, but Christmas though, different story. Every year, for as long as I can remember, Christmas has been at grandma's house. This year, Christmas will not be at grandma's house because grandma transitioned in June. And I can't lie, it's sobering. It's very introspective. It's a lot of things. It's a lot of things. And getting it out of my head and onto something, onto the camera, onto a voice note, onto some paper, onto just out in the air, onto driving in the car, and just getting it out of my system enough so that the heaviness of it doesn't weigh me down. The truth is, my grandmother, when she was alive, wasn't a very heavy grandma in terms of, like, she had her stickler things, you know what I mean? But you don't get to 80 anything without a little grit, you know what I mean? Without a little bit of unsmooth parts of your personality, because you got to go through some shit to get to 80. You just do. It's, especially being a black woman. My grandmother was 86. She done seen a lot, experienced a lot, like real life hoses sprayed on. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that was her actual lived experience, because I don't know. I never had the presence of mind to ask those type of questions with my grandmother. How was your journey through racism? Right? Has anything ever happened to you where you felt like your life was in danger? Did you ever get jammed up, or know somebody that was jammed up in a way that you knew it was racially motivated and there was just nothing you could do about it? Like, though, I never got a chance to ask those questions. So that also adds to Christmas not at grandma's house. And now that I have these questions that I want to ask and I can't ask them, it's kind of like, I feel like I was robbed a little bit. And the roller coaster of emotions with it has been a lot to process, to package, to put in places, to still get on my day and, hey guys, how's everything? It's still, because what I was alluding to before I took the left turn down to the detour, just ride with me. My grandmother wasn't the type of person that was just super negative about stuff. She wasn't a weigh you down kind of grandma. She had a sense of humor that was definitely, I've inherited a good chunk of that. And she just, for me, the way I looked at my grandmother, her energy, she was still hopping in Ubers up until, a few months before she got sick and then, ultimately transitioned or whatever. And I I just imagined she would be like 105, that grandmother that lived to like, damn, Betsy, you 100 and her name wasn't Betsy, Shirley Reed. Shout to you. Um, she was just like happy go lucky. You know what I mean? God fearing woman and, you know, very churchy to a very large degree. Um, so going into this holiday season, I hear her voice. I, excuse me, around this time, because Thanksgiving's coming up, even though she's not cooking, she's not making no big old meal, none of that stuff, right? I would still be somehow going to the supermarket to pick up some item or items or putting together her food shopping list for it to be Instacarted to the house or for me to come get her because she specifically wants to go in the store and walk around and get her own things, even though her legs are gonna get tired and but she still wanna push, right? There's just a lot that going through this process of processing that I didn't expect. I didn't I couldn't intellectualize away. It's like one of my favorite people. Like one of my favorite people. And I can't even invite her to the crib. Hey grandma, this year I don't know if you got plans with the church ladies or whatever, but if you want to pull up to the crib, you're more than welcome. And maybe she would come. Maybe not. She's been to my house though. I can say that. And I don't know what that is for you. I don't know who that is for you. Just know that you're not wrong for feeling the way you feel. You're not wrong for feeling depressed or feeling low or feeling sad or you're not wrong. You're not. And don't allow people to make you feel like grief has a time period. It doesn't. You'll find the light when you find it. I hope you find it sooner than later. I hope whatever places that you found yourself in that are dark, you found some way to find some light in there. I recognize my journey is not like other people's journey. The way I feel is the way I feel. I can't speak for nobody, nor am I going to speak for anybody because it's not my place. It's not. I can't tell you how to feel. I can't tell you what to think. I can't tell you what to do. I can't. I can tell you what I'm doing. I can tell you what I did. I can tell you what I'm thinking. And I'm hoping that in the way that I'm processing this gives some levity to your situation. It adds a little bit of a perspective that says, you know what? Yeah, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling this loss. But to know that there's somebody that I could send an email to know that there's somebody you could send a DM, you could send an email, a DM. Not gonna be weird and give you my phone number unless you already have it. You could hit me. My number, same number, same hood. It's all good. Not really, but sort of. I've had the same number for 20 years. So if you got my number and we've been in contact for 20 years, that's the same me. Hit me. Um, just like this conversation, the grief is a wave. There's going to be times where it's so low, the wave, you might not even feel the current. You might not even feel nothing. There may be days you go by and you don't even think about the person. You don't think about the person. The person doesn't pop in your mind. They're able to enjoy joy and laughter. And that's not a slight to them either. Because the way etymology is set up, I almost botched the word, etymology is set up. For instance, my dad transitioned 8 years ago. And in order for my dad to be here, parts of my grandmother, parts of my grandfather had to be combined in order, like on a gene level, right? Follow me, nerdy stuff, but this is how I've been processing this. This is just my version of how I process my grief. I started thinking about my dad and I started thinking about this word etymology, and I was like, yo, well, look, I mean, not etymology. Man. Man, what is the word? Genealogy. But that's not epigenetics. That's what it is. All right. I don't know where we at, but the word I'm looking for is epigenetics. And the way that epigenetics is set up, it says that in order for a person to be a person, there has to be two genes from two people that combine in order for you to be born. Geek talk for on a gene level, right? The parts of my grandmother that made my granddad, the bugging, son. According to run it back. According to epigenetics, because this is like the third take, right? According to epigenetics, the parts of my grandmother that made my dad are passed down to me. Run it back one more time. According to epigenetics, It says that my grandmother, or the parts of my grandmother that were combined with my grandfather to create my dad, still existed in my dad when my dad and my mom created me. All that to say, there's a piece of the people that we have. I'll speak in this particular. You have a parent or a grandparent that you have that has transitioned. There's a part of them that is still within you. This isn't woo woo. This isn't magic. This is epigenetics. We're going to do some homework and some research because I can geek out about it. But in layman's terms, epigenetics is the code that writes who we are, how we become who we become on a biological level, right? The way our hair is, the way our eyes sit, the skin tone that we have, our nails, like all of the things that make us us are only possible because of the gene code that was shared to make us. For me in my grieving process, I'm recognizing that although my dad is not physically here, there's parts of my dad that exist and live within me. Same with my grandmother. My grandmother has transitioned, but there's parts of my grandmother that exist and live within me. So the truth is, they're not gone. They're still here. I'm still here. My children are still here. So there's remnants of them that exist within an ecosystem of people living their life on a day-to-day basis. Me, my two sons, my brother, his son and his daughter. All of us have the essence of my dad. All of us have the essence of my grandmother. So there's a really interesting level of comfort that I feel knowing like, nah, it's still not over. The energy didn't die. The energy just got siphoned out. I can go further on the me, but my this year has been loss. My cousin Terrence, rest in peace, 48 years old, cancer. My grandmother, 86 years old, Shirley Reed, heart attack or heart failure. My cousin Colette, rest in peace. She was sick. And maybe 60. Maybe. No, definitely 60. At least like 60 something, right? But still, that's not old. I don't even consider 86 old. I don't even know why we use the word old when we talk about age in general. Why are we whatever years old? You know what I mean? Why not new or just the years? I'm 8 years old. Sounds crazy when you're so young. I'm 8. I'm 22. I'm 44. I'm 87. I'm 96. I'm 105. Whatever it is. Why do we have to put old on it? But anyway, my level of surprise, my level of understanding, my level of awareness, my level of perspective, my level of everything it's all been modified, all in the name of grief. And I'm not mad at it. I'm If this is divine order, then divine order says it was their time. I'm starting to think differently about that. Because man has a lot to do with a lot of the ways that people die. So to be shot or to be murdered or to die in a car crash or some freak accident is like, is it really divine order? Or is it the repercussions of man running wild with invention and ingenuity and science? Right? Because this is my grieving process. This is the questions I'm starting to ask myself. Like, wait a minute. Why? And if there's a cause and effect, and because of this thing, that thing happened, but the thing that happened wouldn't have happened if that cause never existed, that's like how it just goes back and forth in my brain. So in this journey of grief, the perspective has been like, nah, they not gone. I don't know the way to tap in deep enough to the cerebral space or the spiritual space. I'm not there yet. You know what I mean? But maybe there's a way that we can communicate to those parts of them that exist within us. Memories, thoughts, moments. You know what I'm saying? Embraces. Like, how do we know that the energy doesn't entangle somehow where that person has sprinkled a little bit of their essence on our essence? So I was trying to cut it off because I feel like, but anyway, just if you rocking with me, I appreciate it. This has been a very challenging subject to approach because I'm not a doctor, I'm not an expert, I'm not even giving advice. I'm just creating a space for anybody who's experiencing grief to land and find other people in the community that you could lean on. That's my honest. I'm being honest. So of course, in my non-professionalism, I took the chat and I just prefaced it to help me craft some of this conversation after my experience. This is why I'm doing this, my experience with this, what I'm doing with getting through it. And of course, there's questions that I'm not thinking to ask because I'm just in the studio by myself or I'm in the house by myself. And I've been kind of keeping this in the tuck for a little bit. I did record a video back in June, but that's more for documentary purposes. So I needed to get a lot of it out. I just needed to. and it was the spark to engage with other people. So enough of the disclaimer. Some of the questions that came up in chat were very interesting that I would not have asked. And the fact that I could ask myself gave me another place to like put the grief, to take it from this thing that's happening to me, this thing that's happening to my family, this thing that's happening that is unfair, or it's too soon, or whatever the emotion is around it, to make sense of it, like for real. So one of the questions that I was like, man, this is an interesting question. How has your grief journey evolved over time? How has your grief journey evolved over time? My grief journey evolved over time in a way that I wasn't aware that it would, one. And surprising to myself was, I mean, it started off with I don't think I've cried that much in a long time. Like I didn't even cry like that when my dad passed. But when my grandmother passed, it hit different. Like it just hit so different. And it didn't hit me immediately. It wasn't in the moment. You know, I'm looking at my grandmother on the bed and I'm just like, yo, you're really not here in the physical. Like you're really not here. Like your body's here. She was still warm. Like it wasn't like that initial she's gone. It wasn't until I was leaving the hospital that like it hit me. You know, she's still in the bed. The family pulls up. You know, my brother's there. My niece is there. Some friends of the family's there. The pastor's there. I'm saying bye to everybody. I give my brother a hug, and I couldn't contain it. I couldn't be strong in the moment and hold the poker face and go cry in the car. For what? Like, why? Why hide the fact that this shit hurts? This shit hurts. Grief hurts. The shit hurts. It does. It just is what it is. And I felt every piece of that. Like, every single piece of that, I felt it. And then it got lighter. And then lighter. And then lighter. And then I felt guilty for it being lighter. Because I'm like, man, your grandmother, you're supposed to like grieve every day. You're never supposed to come up from air because it's your grandmother. Everybody's supposed to cry over their grandmother for 97 years, weeks in a row. That's what they said. They didn't say that. I'm being sarcastic. But people say shit like that. People have the audacity to look at you in your grieving state and say some dumb shit. Dumb shit. Like, well, I mean, it was only... How you gonna tell me what my relationship was to this person? Just because you hear the title when you think that the title didn't really hold a lot of weight, that's where you're wrong. Because everything can't be labeled. It just can't be. You can't. And everything can't be defined. You just can't. You just can't. There's certain things, you try to describe certain things to people, and you always got to hit them with you had to be there. Like, you really had to be there. It'd be like one of them jokes you be telling somebody, and you know the shit was funny as hell because it wasn't just you. You was in a room with mad other people, and everybody was laughing and kikiing and stomach busting open and all that other shit. And the person you telling the story to is just like, it's like, man, you just had to be there. So there's a level of unexplained energy that is par for the course. It just is. So this grieving process for me over time has made me reevaluate grief for myself. For myself, it don't have to be heavy. It don't have to be something that completely stops me in my tracks. It can be an indicator that I share love with somebody so much so that their absence is unbearable. I had a connection with somebody so strong that their absence is unbearable. To that degree. They transition and I can't pick up the phone. Damn. That's crazy. That's crazy. But that's life. Nobody makes it out of this thing alive. We don't. So I've kind of become a little bit of a cynic in the sense of like, it's really that. Nobody don't make it out of this life alive. That's just a rite of passage. Another question. What advice would you give to someone just beginning their journey with grief? I gave it, I just said it, probably about 97 minutes of explanation, but I don't necessarily, it's not advice, because you can't advise somebody how they should feel. You just can't. And predicting how somebody feels about something, I said it already on here. I'm not going to repeat it. I'm just not. But I wouldn't give advice. Perspective, just, it's your journey. It's your journey. Try not to let it knock you completely out. But I haven't experienced a loss so great that I felt that way. So it's your journey, and you do with it what you will. I'm just hoping you have the strength and the mindset to move through it as healthy and as cautious and as mindful as possible. What is the most important lesson you've learned from your experience with grief? That there's no off switch. And living your life to the best of your ability is probably the best way to honor the people that are no longer here. My dad wouldn't want me to be moping around and not being shit in his name. My grandmother wouldn't want me falling by the wayside and not taking care of my responsibilities in her name. My cousin wouldn't appreciate the fact that I have the resources to do and I'm not in his name. So it's just no real way to honor somebody by not putting one more step in front of the other, by not getting up to bat one more time, by not using the energy that I have to create something meaningful for me, my family, the people that are around me, the people that I'm sharing company and space with. So I would say through all of it, one of the biggest spaces of peace that I've been able to find has been, they're not all the way gone. There's parts and traces of them that are still here, and I honor that, and I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for the time that I've got to spend with them. The moments that I can recall that are vivid that I had with them. And honoring them in that way has brought an immense amount of peace in my space. Cause I'm laughing or smiling because my dad would lose his shit, like seeing what I'm doing now, and you know, he was one of my biggest supporters, like 100%. You know what I'm saying? So it's dope to think about how expansive my journey has been since my dad's transition. Like, the part of him that still exists within me is like, man, yeah, this is, I know he's proud. I know he would be proud. I'm proud. I am. I really am. I'm proud that I have the tutelage from my dad that I can invest in my life. One of the dopest things my dad ever said to me was, when your purpose is bigger than your personal gain, that's when you'll be successful. Got a little dry on there. When your purpose is bigger than your personal gain, that's when you'll be successful. And when he told me that, it was one of those times in my life, it was rock bottom. I'm like, man, Dad, I just can't wait until, I got this life where I'm in the green pasture and I'm doing my thing. And he's like, well, son, when your purpose is bigger than your personal gain, that's when it'll click. That's when success will be at your beck and call. And he's not lying. He's not lying. There's something about making sure other people can get it a certain way that assures I'm going to get it on the back end. It just is what it is. You get what you give. You do. So if you're putting out a lot of love, you'll get a lot of love. Not fake love, not transactional. I'm saying you're not putting it out there to get it back, but you're genuinely sowing seeds of good vibes and love and concern and empathy and all of the things that I believe are the meaningful parts of life. Like, to really empathize with people, to really take a step back and try to put yourself in their situation. I think that's like an incredible way to like honor the people that are walking this planet with us. For real. People be going through shit. A lot of shit that you might not know, I might not know. They don't wear it. It's not like their life look like it's in shambles or none of that shit. But they be going through a bunch of shit that you would never know. You wouldn't. I don't. There's plenty of stories of people who self-deleted themselves, and you hear the story that, man, it was the happiest person. Like, I don't understand why would they do that. Because you just never know what somebody's going through. So I feel like this is why I'm opening this up. I'm opening this up for anybody that would like to have a conversation with me in regards to grief. Please hit me up in the email, grownmanshitpodcast@gmail.com, because I want to have dialogue. I want to have healthy dialogue. I want to be able to help cultivate some space of comfort. And if you need to talk, I want to talk with you. And I'm going to land the plane there. As always, I appreciate you guys for tuning in. This is another episode of the Grown Man Shift Podcast. I'm your host, Baith. Please like, share, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. And I'm going to pop in with solo episodes. I don't know when, I don't know how. I'm still building the plane and all of that while, providing as meaningful and thoughtful content as I possibly can. So, please connect with me. And thank you for connecting with me. I'm saying mad but yeah, man. I'm looking forward to building community around this in this season. So once again, Grown Man Shift Podcast, thank you for tuning in. Peace.